Hey guys, it's Matt. Incredibly, I don't think I've ever made a dedicated video about this topic. I've mentioned it hundreds of times in passing. Every time we talk about Knottnilk, it's generally mentioned. But I'm just going to put it right out to you. I hope you don't comment right away. Hear me out on a few things. I will clean up the comments. This video is just as much about the comments as it is about my presentation. So if somebody leaves a link or something that's just completely not relevant to what we're talking about, I'm going to remove the comment because I want to ask you. The basic question is, hold off if you can. Who's in charge here? I would say Knottnilk, but what is that? Who's in charge here? And we're going to get 100 different examples of what people believe is going on here. A council, a secret society council, an evil creature. Nobody here believes that governments or elected individual. I mean, if you're new here, there's nobody here that's been here for more than a few weeks that believes that governments or what you would call somebody you've elected, or even if there's still a monarchy that exists anywhere in the world, no one would believe at that level, the level you can see. Nobody believes they're in charge. Even 400 years ago, very few here believed that that king or that queen or that emperor was truly in charge. They answer to something else. Or to me, it's Knottnilk. It's a frequency. It's a vibration here. It's something they tune into on their radio station. But to me, the rule is simple. If it presents itself as famous, as on television, as clearly what is in control, then to me, it's the rule of opposites. You know what I'm going to say? It's not in control. But let's get the most important things out of the way. This is driving many of you crazy. Be the glitch you want to see in the Matrix. Somebody sent this to me. Be the glitch you want to see in the Matrix. What does that mean? I don't exactly know, but I like it. I like it. I haven't worn this too much or before, and I apologize for not doing it. It's a very nice sweatshirt, and this is disgraced. This we have to go through this. This is a humiliation ritual for Penn State. Ugh. I'm not wearing it. Maybe I'll put it into one of my stove tests. Get rid of that sigil. It's a disgraced university again. Not quite as bad as when that coach went into that shower, but almost. Not quite. Almost. So guys, again, hold off if you can. I know many of you have a clearly defined image as to who's in control here, but I might be able to share some things to get you thinking about it a little bit differently. I mean, to somebody that's as brilliant, say, as Lynn, our friend Lynn. Lynn, you got to tell me, can I use your YouTube name? I guess you've kind of given me permission, but I'm reluctant to do that. To somebody that's so brilliant, because everything, to that level of IQ, everything can be figured out. It's within her cognitive capacity. So, therefore, the world must be able to be figured out. This is where we have our biggest disagreements. I'm sure Lynn would say, she would say governments and Trump. Of course not. I mean, you wouldn't be here if you believe that. But Matt, let's look at the ancient secret societies. How do the Rosicrucians still exist, or the OTO, or the Golden Dawn? And Matt, this doesn't help. And then the Club of Rome. And I mean, she would think there's something. She has to be able to figure it out because she is that smart. And I think, as I've said, somebody that's that smart and needs to have an explanation, I think that a person like that, in many cases, is going to miss the point of, I'll tell you, what I believe generally is Knottnilk. There is no one in charge. It's a frequency. Those that believe they're in charge are almost fooled that they're actually serving the frequency without even understanding what they're doing or what their role is. So I guess the comments are going to be all over the board. I don't know if you could apply as above, so below to this, but it's kind of like an as above, so below. What is that? This is a as above, so below principle, where the reality gives us hints in certain areas as to how everything works. So at the macro, scientists looking at the macro of how this reality works, and the micro, they can't figure out the macro, they can't figure out the micro, but they have the middle. supposedly perfectly figured out, where Newton's laws and Einstein's laws and the laws of thermodynamics and how things are going to be predicted in the middle. When Halley's Comet will return, they'll predict right down to the second when the next eclipse is going to be. They'll predict right down to the second. They have that middle area figured out. So the hubris of the scientists, they believe they have it all figured out. They figured out just the middle of the sandwich. They don't understand no bread. They understand the peanut butter and jelly, so they think they understand the whole thing. Well, what's on either side of the sandwich? We have no idea. But we have it all figured out because we know there's peanut butter and jelly. That ain't nothing, ain't shit. You got to tell me about the bread. They don't know the bread. So on one side is the let's do the micro first. The quantum, this string theory, and all this bullshit. All this obviously it's if you Russian nesting dolls forever is impossible. You can't continuously look for smaller and smaller particles. We need to do this for, I guess there's all different types here in the Amish classroom. I know I've done this many times before, but it's so fascinating. Just give me 45 seconds. I mean, okay, 250 years ago, whatever there's a thing called a molecule. And look at this hydrogen son of a bitch mates with this oxygen son of a bitch. And okay, they figure that out. What's that made out of? You can't just do Russian nesting dolls forever. They just can't keep popping open. And the sun. Okay, let me not get ahead of myself and complete a thought, Matt. Well, what's that composed of? Atoms, and the electron goes around the neutron. And I know many of you have issues even with that, but let's just give him that, okay? Let's not do a sidebar conspiracy. Then what's that? Oh, that's quarks and the building blocks of atoms. Okay, well, why the scientists years ago should have said, we need to stop this because always looking for a smaller particle for infinity. There's always going to be a smaller. At some point, something has to then, if you keep doing that scientific experiment, something has to be made up of itself. That's impossible. So 100 years ago, they should have said, this is all CERN, whatever. Well, CERN is for, we'll do that some other time. It's probably for other things. It's what they tell us it's for. And the people watch the television. Oh, smashing particles. Oh, we want to determine how the universe was formed. Oh. No, it's something else. But that's what they tell us. They keep smashing particles and did they find the Higgs boson and all that? And people predicted if they found the Higgs boson, the universe would collapse. And shut up. Make it stop. So they should have 100 years ago said, we can't just keep looking for smaller particles because at 20, 50, a million down the line, something has to be made up of itself. Yeah, Matt, you told us. Okay. So as you go into the small, the very small, this side of reality, the bread on the bottom of the bun, the bun on the bottom of the bread, the bun on the bottom of the meat breaks down. It's impossible. It's the human brain can't wrap its head around that. But the macro's the same way. Every time they look, they just find billions of more galaxies and solar systems. Really? Oh, hi, Czar. Come say hi, Czar. Hi, Czar. How you doing, sweetie? You think there are billion galaxies? No, hundreds of billions of galaxies. That makes sense. All bigger than a football field. They say, oh, they're hundreds of trillions of times bigger than a football field. Billions and billions. It's always large. Oh, and it's expanding. It's getting bigger. So they think they have that figured out. Really? That's ridiculous. They don't have that. They have no. Well, then what? Okay, even if they think they have it figured out, even if I'm wrong that they. Well, what's it expanding into? We don't know. Well, the universe is expanding. They say you could tell that through redshift. Fuck your redshift. That doesn't mean shit to me. What redshift is? You're just recording the trick of this reality. Don't tell me about redshift, sir. Get me another Danish and coffee. Redshift. So that just means okay. Whatever. Who cares what that means? What's it expanding into? Well, they don't know. I mean, you say you don't know the macro, you don't know the micro, you know the middle, but you have it all figured out. Okay, back to what we were talking about. In terms of who's in charge, who's in control here? Is it a council? Is it a beast on a throne? Is it a floating Baphomet? Who's in control? And see, as you go to the quantum, it's all vague. As you go to the macro, it's just, to me, who's in charge is, it's vague. There's no one. Not Nilk is just a frequency, a radio station. All millions, tens of millions at very high levels serve it. Oh, and many of those millions, I hope this is still recording. I'm going to have to stop just to make sure. Many of those millions believe they're much more in control than they actually are. I think they don't even understand what we would call not Nilk. It's nothing you can point at. It's just this vague notion that, it's nothing you can point at in a police lineup. But again, many of you, that doesn't work for you. Matt, something here has to be in charge. I agree, Matt. It's a one world system. The presentation of this is our country, this is our flag, and that all went away a long time ago. It's a one world system, coordination, but to somebody that's very, very smart and has figured everything out their entire life, it just that the vague notions that I'm presenting don't work for that person. There must be a final door. There must be a final boss level. There must be a final person in charge, even if it's a demonic creature or whatever it may be. And to me, no, absolutely not. Who pulled off the most coordinated thing ever pulled? Was C the V of 2020, of course, but something that's a little bit easier to wrap our head around, the 7-Eleven job application submission to the convenience store. Who pulled that off and coordinated every bit of it? And my answer is nobody. Nobody did. Now, different groups coordinate in terms of one master plan, one group in a room that said this is going to be the role of these military contractors. And this is how we're going to do the van and the inflated tire. And this is how we're going to present Flight 77. It just doesn't work that way. And it's very hard for me to prove that or explain. Well, Matt, somebody had to do it. No, that's the wrong thinking. If you've seen many of the old guard, if you've seen the old conspiracy maps just on the submission of the job application, the arrows going in, I don't know, it's like those conspiracy maps we look at. The contractors by themselves were involved in, I'm just saying it's just a tiny fraction. PNAC, the Project for a New American Century, and the role of SAIC and Lockheed Martin, and how was the cover-up done at United Airlines and American Airlines, and the arrows go in thousands of different directions. There's no possible way in a real world of people, men and women, waiting for their Subway sandwiches. I'm hungry, and where's my smokes? People couldn't do that. You're giving people, even if they sit around the Club of Rome or whatever that stuff is, you're giving them too much credit. All right, so let me just make sure this is still recording. I'll be back. That's a Mandela effect for me. So if you're not following me, let me give you another example which triggers even more people in our community as they may come and go from this channel. We'll say, who built the pyramids? Or whatever your impossible structure is that you're most amazed by. The cathedral at Cologne, or who built this and that. Nobody, in my opinion. I've had that opinion now. I floated that about 2 years ago. It's part of reality itself. And to me, if you're continuously looking for how it was done, or somebody brilliant like Lynn may say, well, we can figure it out because I'm as smart as they are, then to me, you're falling for the trick. That is the trick of this reality. Once you get into the level of conspiracy that we dive into, it tempts you that you should be able to figure it out. The trick in falling for the trick is going down that rabbit hole and believing you can figure it out, or it can't hide from me forever. That is falling for the trick. That's doing exactly what the dark frequency or the not Nilk wants. So I say the Great Pyramids. I know that triggers some people. They're just sand filled. Okay, if fine, it doesn't matter. If that makes sense to you, then we have 1,000 others over here that shouldn't have been able to be built. Or I use the Cathedral of Cologne example a lot because I've been there. And I'll just do 45 seconds, folks. If you pictures don't do it justice, you have no idea if you haven't been there. You're miles away, or I forget how far out we were when we first saw it. What? That what is that? What? It's like an alien. Remember the gigantic not Armageddon, Independence Day with Will Smith. He went out to get the damn paper and shit, and then the whole ship was over Los Angeles. Well, it wasn't quite that. I'm just trying to give you an idea. It was like that, but not like that. But what the hell? And we got how far? We're still far away from it. And then you get upon it, and it's just alien. It's an alien structure. There's no way, folks. There's no way. You're going to show me some YouTube channel. Matt, look, here's a YouTube channel. They got a 20-foot board. Oh, they can move the block with a board. I don't give a shit about that. We've talked, we have to do another one of the videos on this. It's about, there's no excess in society. There's no excess resources or surplus in society. Getting water was an hour and a half. Cutting firewood was 3 hours. Making food, there's no surplus in society that would allow for that. They got all their shit done by 10 a.m. Oh, what are we going to do now? Well, we got nothing to do. We got all our water done. The water, the crops are all set. The food, the canning, the splitting of firewood, and the repairs in the home, and sending the kid to college back in 1650. What are we going to do? We got all of us have like 5 hours a day to do nothing until we start drinking at night. Let's just build this 800 million ton cathedral. Oh, come on, man. I mean, there's no excess and surplus in society itself is more prohibitive than how you could not move blocks. I still don't think you could move that much stone. And I mean, okay. Was that 45 seconds? Sorry, guys. I could talk hours and hours about the Cathedral of Cologne. I mean, many of you have been in these cathedrals, and I say you walk in and you could fly like a small little, those guys that they fly the parachutes and they have a fan. They have a fan behind them and they fly around on their parachute. You could fly one around inside the Cathedral of Cologne, or like a model controlled airplane. It's ridiculous. So, in my opinion, nobody built these things. In my opinion, I do leave one other thing on the table, that the world, if they were built, the physics of the world was completely different. The world itself, not a mud flood reset, but some sort of a change or reset, where even the properties of the laws of physics were different. Gravity, whatever they call gravity, was different. Everything was, that is, a block of what we call 4,000 tons today was picked up by a toddler in that era, or whatever the reality was then, like. What's his name? Was his name Superman? Kal-El, like baby Kal-El, picking up a huge block. Maybe reality was that. It was completely alien to what we know today. That's possible. But if that's not much different than my theory, because if that's the case, is that a real world that came from, if that was possible, is that a real world that came from the Big Bang? No. So applying this to who's in charge here, it's just like, who built this? Nobody. Part of reality. How did this happen, Matt? Somebody had to coordinate all this. Matt, 2020, see the V-Me, and that coordination was so perfect, and it was so perfect it's impossible, right? That's where I am, and I'm crystal. I don't think I'll ever move off this, although I'll try to stay open-minded. It's so perfect. It's impossible. The way that doctors or hospital groups or experts, and not just experts you'd call complete little puppets like Dr. F. I mean, whatever that little creature is. I'm talking in general. You could call your family physician, and they all bow down, like a frequency, a download. They all bowed down to it. They all parroted the same things. The testing. Remember how we should do a whole video or revisit the craziness. The world was exposed, and things are so back to normal that we forget how crazy it was at times. The world gave itself away if it hadn't already, via other impossible coordinated events like the job application, etc. The V 2020 was 1,000 times larger than the 7/11 2001, and you could see that the proof is of a download of a radio station, because there's no way the secret societies and the men in vans and the people in the smoking rooms got to all the doctors and hospital groups and all the big pharma people. They all just, I guess they just all had secret meetings. No, it's a download. Who knows? Are they all? How many entities or spiritual beings are like us here? Maybe very, very few. And yeah, I'll say it again. I don't want to talk about 144,000. Well, you keep saying that every time you bring it up. I know. Whatever. Maybe it's 144. Maybe, well, it's big. There's a lot more people here than that. But maybe it's not as, maybe, let me just say, maybe it's not as big as 144,000. Maybe it is a modified solipsism where there's the group here that is a real spiritual being is much, 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 much smaller than we would think. And there are, and it doesn't mean everybody's the NPC, but there are different types here. You know, I buy fully into Tony's explanation of what Melvin P is and the different spiritual entity called this sequential. That's not what you are. That's hopefully not what I am. It's a different entity, the creeps of this world. And if anybody's trapped via all these soul trap videos, I've been talking about this recently. If anybody seems trapped, it seems like they are, right? Why else would you go out of your way to serve the frequency here, and to serve it in such a manner that you're setting yourself up for the next incarnation? They're doing that. They're setting themselves up at a higher level of status or power for the next incarnation. It's almost like they're working now for the next lifetime. If anybody's trapped, maybe that's the best interpretation of the soul trap. It's those creeps or that type of incarnation. We may be tricked and fooled to be somewhat trapped, but ultimately we are not. Okay, it just depends on how much you buy into the soul trap presentation videos, how much you believe the work and the training, the Rocky training you're doing here now to see through the trick will apply at death, if there are any tricks, if there are any deaths, if at death there are any tricks. I've mentioned that if you're fixated, I believe if you're fixated on that topic, that you could help manifest that on yourself. Tony was very clear in what he told me. I'm not bowing down to everything Tony's ever presented to me. We had our disagreements about that's, Tony went his own way, but it did make sense. Somebody's so focused on what will happen to them at death, that is what they will manifest for themselves. Even he said, don't shoot the messenger. He said even the Christian notion of heaven, they will get that. They will get that. They will manifest that. That sounds awfully good but he would say it's not where they ultimately need to be. Don't blank the messenger. That's what he'd say. Manifest 100 years, 1,000 years from now. Say, okay, this is just another layer. This isn't still very, very far from where I need to be. Just as we know now, you and I know whatever aspect of consciousness we are. Maybe people would say just a small part of the whole of who we are. What we know of as our consciousness here is just a small part of the whole. Whatever's here, we know we are far away from where we need to be. Many of us do. I guess the Christian would say, well, through Jesus and heaven, no, I'm just one step away. I wish I felt that way. I do. I mean, many of us here feel that this is very, very low, and there are many, many layers of the fractal. I'm no expert on Buddhism, but many different layers of reality. I believe in Buddhism and the hells and that doesn't. Again, I don't buy into that or any organized what you would call religion. Buddhism to me is very dangerous because you're setting someone up to expect to be recycled, expect to be come back. Just it's a given, so they'll manifest that or facilitate it themselves. It's dangerous philosophy, if you ask me. The Buddhist just expects that. What's the notion? If you walk by a strange woman in the marketplace, that at some point has been your mother, because there's so many tens of thousands and millions of lives, and what could be more what could be more defeatist or more depressing or more low? I don't get it. I don't get it. So I'll take the opposite. I mean, I still believe that. Well, Matt, you said this is a low. It is. But it's an experience. It's a necessary experience. It's a low realm. I don't believe I'm just one step away from winning for all eternity. But I think the dreams experience is lower than this one. To me, this is just one level up. And I don't know how many layers or levels there are that whatever the spiritual being you call you or I call Matt, whatever that spiritual being has to go through, I don't know. But this is close to the lowest. It is, so it's okay. We got time. If you're a being, a spirit that's always existed and always will exist, you got time. What else you got to do? Go through this. What else you gonna do? You got a place somewhere to be out there? Fuck it. Just go through this is low. Maybe there's nothing lower. But although the Jewish notion of Sheol, that's horrible, man. That's as depressing as it gets. Look into Sheol sometime. It's like a combination of hell and limbo. That's not very encouraging when you read those sacred books, sir. Sheol, what is that? I ain't going to no Sheol. Anyways, anyway, so yeah, this is low. And there's a lot of layers. A lot of layers. That didn't sound very intelligent, Matt. Nicolette Larson. It's gonna take a lot of love to get got it. It's gonna take a lot of layers. Matt, it's breaking down. I'll get my act together. And I need to pause this to make sure it's still recording. I'll get my act together. So I guess that just was a long way of saying we're back to who's in charge here. If you follow the tributaries or back where the river started, or you look out into space and say, well, okay, this is it's a reverse endless Russian nesting dolls. This is what's called the solar system, and the scientists have it all figured out. And then this is the Milky Way galaxy. And then all these pictures people show me of the Milky Way, where you can see I never seen no white line or whatever. How come I can't ever see the Milky Way? Does that make any sense to you? But let's just move on. And then there's this galaxy. It's just a little bit larger than a football field, they say. There's billions and billions. So it all breaks down, all goes vague. They don't know. We did the micro, the quantum. It all breaks down, all goes vague. Same would be if we follow who's in charge. Okay, the person down the road here thinks Trump's in charge. I mean, come on, man. You've got the person down the road here thinks Vladimir Putin's in charge. They think, is it Xi Jinping or is he still in? That's stalled century. Is he still the premier or president or the three P's or president, premier, prime minister of China? Xi Jinping? Can he get us a private party in the Forbidden City? Is he still around? You think he's in charge of China and that's it? See, most people here don't know. It's the rule of opposites. If they present themselves as, I'm the leader of this country. Oh, apparently today there's these two criminals people are going to the polls to select one of two criminals for the governorship, if that's even a word, of New Jersey. I mean, just low-life delinquents. They both have especially, well, I don't know much about them, but you've heard some things like, how did the political process gives the false reality away. Because you say, it's the Jimmy Carter principle. If anything were real, this complete delinquent could never have made it that high. The delinquents that are running for New Jersey governor race, they would never have made it that far along if anything were real. One would have never made it out of a deli meat cutting counter. That would be the as far as they would ever go in their career, a deli meat cutting counter. The other may be a madam at a house of ill repute. That would be the highest they would ever be able to achieve if anything were real. So the fact that, reality gives itself away all the time. But if you follow, who's in charge? What's that from Bane, from Batman? Bane, do you feel in charge? I used to do that. Damn, I haven't done the Matt, it's breaking down. I'm going to hold it together. Haven't done the humongous from Mad Max for a while. I'm not going to do that in this one. Do you feel in charge? I'm Gotham's reckoning, here to end the borrowed time you've all been living under. Bane from Batman. How'd that just pop into my head? Because he said, "Do you feel in charge?" And he put the hand up on the guy. Sorry. So it's not Trump. We know. Oh well, then like they have handlers, right? Jared Kushner, the alien from a foreign planet or a foreign solar system, may be the handler. He presents himself as a little like a dork. He might, or the way Dick Cheney was. But who's above that? And then the smart people that always have to be able to figure it out. Well, Matt, it's the different secret societies you've heard about, the Club of Rome and the Rosicrucians. Okay, well, if we were to be invited into that, or the Beau Grove, or invited into some of the, not that we don't, I don't want no Eyes Wide Shut invitation. No way. I don't want to go to some dude and have to rent a costume like Tom Cruise and what is the password? I don't want to try to figure out no password. I don't want in. I'm just joking when I say that stuff. But if we were to do it, we wouldn't even need to, because this is how it would play out. I'm confident in this. They would think in a way they'd have some answers. But okay, well then who does that person report to? It's just it's endless Russian nesting dolls. I'm not going to try to say it. Starts with an M, the official name for those. But it would break down. It's just literally like trying to find the end of a rainbow, in my opinion. I should have said that in the first 5 seconds of this video. It's trying to find the end of the rainbow. And then you'll find this secret society that believes they're in charge. And they tell Vladimir when he's to turn up the volume on Ukraine. And that's managed, Matt. Okay, well, that makes sense. But then who's above that? Okay, I'm not doing well with this example, but at some point, it's going to break down, that just like the macro and micro of reality itself. It's going to follow along the same lines, and it's very similar to the as above, so below approach. Not just because I'm Mandela affected. I would say this anyway. I'm pretty sure I would say this anyway. I know I would say this anyway, that this is a supernatural realm that cannot be entirely figured out, especially by going into the weeds. In thousands of different places, it cannot be figured out. That is, I was called defeatist when I said that many, many years ago. Matt, you're telling people that this at least this example or that cannot in the end be figured out, and that's defeatist and that's negative, and no. If you think you can figure it out and you put the time and effort in, what does your inner knowing tell you? That's falling for the trick. And the biggest part of the trick, as it's customized for our group. That's what it does for our group. No real world could customize a reality trick for each different group or each maybe different type of entity or spiritual entity. That's what it does. No real world could do that. So even if I wasn't Mandela affected, which I have 5, 7, 8, what we call anchor effects, I still would say this major event here, the 7-Eleven job application or See the VME 2020, the coordination was impossible without people lining up on a radio station or a download. And that's not a real world. If hundreds of millions of people or much more are on a download or a life script where they're almost impossible for them to deviate from it, I don't know where that download would be coming from. Again, if you try to look for the HAARP signal, it's HAARP, Matt, it's HAARP, it's a signal. If you try to look for the transmitter, then you're falling for the trick. That's, I've been saying that over and over. I guess I'm being a little repetitive. If you look for where it's coming from or how that technology would play out, you've lost. But when See the VME was the coordination was impossible. Now I know, again, Lynn and the smartest of people, their intelligence will keep them from seeing it. I'm just going to say the least the way I see it. And Matt, that's awfully arrogant. The way you see it has to be correct in the way that. Well, of course, I'm going to take my own position in the argument. If I was at a podium, the great debaters, I'm going to present my own position. That goes without saying. So I'm sorry if you don't like the choice of verbiage, language, or diction. I don't know. I don't understand any of those three words. But I have to present my own points. So to me, if they're so smart, then no. It was coordinated. Maybe their type could coordinate it, but is everybody as smart as them? Lynn, if you're listening, maybe if everybody was like you, all 50,000 people that would need to be involved in the 7-Eleven job application. And there were representatives just like you, just as smart at Lockheed Martin and SAIC and the news broadcast. So they coordinate the image of you know what, which was never there. And all that coordination, all perfect. If they were all like you, but what are most people like? Lynn or anybody else that would take the position that it can all be pulled off by secret societies. And what are most, you understand the limitations of the human in this body like this. Ew, please snake him.
I'm hungry. When are we gonna get fed? Maybe my smokes.
Most people, even at high level corporations or whatever, they're idiots, just idiots. And they're not necessarily stupid, but just look, I mean, I don't think I have to make a real case for what I'm saying here. I mean, how many people, even in the people presented as powerful, how many people impress you? I would say nobody. The people that were shown, well, Matt, it's not them, it's the people in the back rooms. Really? How do you know? What back room? And then who do they report to? The Russian nesting dolls. But I can only deal with the people that are presented to me as authority figures. Look at you. You just have buffoons, useful idiot, moron, jerks like Elon Musk. How could anybody think he's running even a child's lemonade stand? I'm not even joking. I'm not sure, let's just say it was something as big as Alex's lemonade stand, where there's multiple outlets, multiple lemonade stands to raise money. I'm not sure he could run that. He's not very intelligent. He presents himself as an absolute idiot. Very similar to Bill Clinton to me for some reason. When I see Elon Musk, I see a buffoon like Bill Clinton. And people think, I have people in my family that I think literally have the Elon Musk posters on the ceiling, and who knows if they pitch a little tent under the covers as they're looking up at it. They're bow down before him. Well, how many more companies would he need to be running before you would question that he's running even any of them, or even the child's lemonade stand? Let's say if a year from now he's running 5 more gigantic, globally leading companies. Would you think, you believe that because he's so smart? How about 100 more companies? At some point, I mean, that's why the Elon Musk story is so ridiculous, because to people that can see like us, it's so over the top. He couldn't possibly be running all those companies, therefore he's running none of them. It's a rule of opposites. The more they say he's running these companies, the more he's not. So he's running nothing. He doesn't even know where the bathroom is at any of those companies. Like I've said, and I'm not even joking, he couldn't even name 10 employees at any of his companies. Maybe the one he hangs out, maybe he hangs out at SpaceX a lot, and he pretends these things really do fly around. Or I don't know. He might not even know. He might think this shit really, hi, Zara. He might think that shit really flies up there. How'd they build that shit? Come here, Zara. What'd you think of that buffoon, Elon Musk? He believes in the Dragon capsule. He thinks he's going to go up there and he's going to take a ride like Bezos up in that Bradford White water heater. He's going to take a ride. He might not even know he's that stupid. Anyway, so you tell me where these smart people are that could coordinate something. If you could see the VME and the coordination on one of these reality maps, hundreds of thousands of different arrows all pointing. How was this done? How was that? How do they put the entire Western world into a face covering in less than 8 weeks? Most in the U.S. it was 6 weeks or less. Impossible. It's a supernatural realm. If you try to figure it out, you've lost. If you think you're so smart that you're going to be able to figure it out and everybody out there is like you, you've lost. It's a supernatural realm. I said years ago, even about, and I think even like, truth researchers like Chuck P. again and again and again, they got upset at me where I said 7 or 8 years ago, in terms of even coordinated events like the Gambling Town event, or you got to get down, Czar. She's gonna rip my headset off. I could tell. The movie with Robin Williams, Captain Hook, which took place in that state just below Massachusetts, which is called Connecticut. I mean, even things like that, I was saying, and I know this gets people upset, but I was saying once you've really dived into 50 hours of research on each one, the big ones, and then even right down through Umpqua and all the ones that Chuck P. again and again knows all about, you get to the point where there's just too many people that would have to be in on it. I've said this many times. Many of you here don't like this. Matt, certainly they could pull off a school event, and sure, one every 10 years with perfect coordination, 5 years out. Remember, mistakes on purpose shows you how strange this reality is. If it was just about pulling it off and getting away with it, there wouldn't be mistakes on purpose. That's 100%. I mean, I don't know how anybody that would be here at this channel would take the other side of the podium against me, that some of these mistakes are not on purpose to, and if they are mistakes on purpose to suck our type of entity into the chase, then it gives itself away right there. It wants to be chased. What sort of real world is that? If it was a real world, it would want to pull something off because they want to take the guns, Matt. Don't you know? Well, I didn't know. That's what it's all about? Take the guns? Oh, but when it happened, I went to the Oaks Gun Show, and the line was 4 miles long to buy thousands and thousands of more guns. So they're not that smart. When they pull off an event, everybody ran out to the gun show to buy more. I guess they didn't anticipate that. No, everybody ran out to the gun show to buy more. That's exactly what they wanted. They're not. What we call Naughton here is evil genius. It would be much more along the lines of what a Christian says Satan is than a George Bush creature, or like something like a Richard Nixon or a Jimmy Carter. It's an evil genius, and in the extreme, it knows exactly what it knows exactly what it's doing. It knows what the population, via its digital twinning now, it knows what the population will do as a whole before the first second of the event. It knows within a standard deviation of 2% exactly how things are going to play out at this point. And I think it even knows from the whole of the truth community, I think it knows how we'll react at this point. And I've said the biggest goal perhaps for the rest of our lives is to break any script that we are being led down and to not be so predictable, and to make sure we are not following along with exactly what it wants, because that is my biggest fear, as you know, at this time. So let me make sure this is recording. So back to the initial question, from my perspective, my opinion, who's in charge? Not Nilk, which means nobody's in charge. A frequency's in charge, a vibration, a radio station. The same is very similar to as above, so below. The macro, the micro, just gets vague. It's the end of the 13th floor, like in the movie. Just all breaks down into matrix type code. Or I'm not saying literally here, but like the example in the 13th floor of the movie, it just becomes the end of the earth in the Michael Moorcock series with Elric, just swirling chaos. There's no more path. There's no more yellow brick road to walk down. As above, so below. Who built the pyramids? Nobody. Just part of reality itself. To hook us and to get us into the investigation, so we fall for the trick, which is the same old one sentence. Simply, well, what's the point of that? It's the same sentence every single time, to keep us from doing what we're supposed to do as spiritual beings in this incarnation. What the Not Milk does is one sentence. For each, it's a customized trick, actually, for each type of group to keep the spiritual being from doing what it's supposed to do with its life or with its incarnation. And the customized trick for our type is conspiracy, and the conspiracy generation machine, of which it's produced. I will take credit for this, guys. People don't have a 10-year history with me or a 15-year history. Absolutely the first one to present years and years ago that there's so much conspiracy here, it's impossible. And also because it doesn't go away. It's another aspect of fake world. And then fake world, the faker it gets, the more real you get. Not said the right way, but you know what I mean. The faker the world gets is the best news of all time for us. The worst news of all time is if things seemed real and the evidence supported that they're real. Like we came from space and we came from a big bang. Darwin or evolution is correct. If the evidence kept lining up that science is right, then we really would be in trouble. We would start to be really convinced as time went on that we don't have a spiritual side to us. We are just the physical. We probably did come just from Monkey Man, and we just came from. My biggest question in life is, how did Homo erection make it and Neanderthal man went away? I thought Neanderthal man was bigger and stronger. The Homo erection species should have gone away. If you're investigating that, scientists, if you're listening to me, and many of you are subscribers, you've really fallen for the trick. You're really low individuals that have fallen for reality's biggest trick, which is science. Yeah, you think see, it's the rule of opposites. You think that's the highest endeavor. And the people that can do the math and the calculus, and they'd say, you stay out of this. You leave it to big brains like me. You can't do the calculus, can you, Matt? You look at the balloon boy. He can't even add right. You can't do our calculus. You can't work our electron microscope. You don't understand what you see when you look up with a radio telescope or X-ray telescope, whatever. You don't understand these things, so you stay out. They're so arrogant. They think that this is the height of understanding this reality, and it's the rule of opposites. It's the lowest. It's falling for the trick into the extreme. Any sort of 2-bit mystic, in a hammock somewhere trying to smoke a J knows thousands of times more about how reality works and what you would call the universe than these scientists. They're taking their readings. Sir, you're taking your readings. What do you think's coming in for the readings? You think that's all? Oh, that has to be objective and completely legitimate scientific data coming in. It's the trick itself coming in. It's all a trick. Just because it's out there in what you call space, why would that be any different than the trick that's here, right in front of me? The mystic, in the damn hasn't showered for 4 or 5 weeks in a damn hammock smoking a J knows thousands of times more about how this reality works than these idiot scientists at the university research parks. The not milk knows. And those that are, when I say, guys, who's in charge, I'm not saying there's no back room. Please don't misinterpret. I should have said this right off the bat. I'm not saying there's nobody 4 or 5 steps above Dick Cheney, the handler for George W. Bush, that coordinate the events at the Bow Grove. I'm not saying that, yes, but even they, to us it would seem like that's what's here. That's what you would call the leadership, or that's in control or in charge. Do you feel in charge? You would say that's in charge. No. And they might even think they're in charge. It's all a frequency and a download. And if it affects them, I'm assuming it affects us in the truth community. And you know what I'm going to say? We better be real careful and be real sure it's not affecting us. I don't see what's so harmful in just floating a general conversation. Who's in charge, and to get people thinking, especially if they're new here, in different ways, thinking that to figure it out, or to try to figure it out, maybe falling for the trick to get people to think that it's okay to say maybe nobody built it. It's okay to say there is no boss level. It just goes to vague. It just goes to blurry. It's okay to think that way. To me, that's the height of big thinking. But what's the purpose of going through all this? What's the purpose of thinking that way? So you see, the chase is pointless. The breadcrumb, the map with the breadcrumbs of whatever conspiracy you're involved in or you're most interested in is pointless. It doesn't lead anywhere. It's the opposite of worry about. What about yourself? It's the opposite of worry about yourself activities. What does your spiritual whole need in the short time we have left? I assure you, looking at the Loch Ness Monster or endless, ponderings about this conspiracy or that doesn't lead you to what you're supposed to do with your life. We're here. The difference between me and many of you, and even many in our truth community, is many of us believe, I believe, we're here for a reason, and we chose to be here. And if you call this a mess, we got ourselves into this mess. Weren't trapped and tricked by some archonic being for the spiritual entity to enter the have-a-heart trap. This is just somebody put a pile of tuna fish into a spiritual have-a-heart trap, and we just crawled into it. Oh, tuna fish. And the door is closed. Oh, shit, I got trapped. Where are you taking me, Earth? Oh, shit. I've heard about that. And then somebody picks up the spiritual have-a-heart trap. That's what I use to trap the what have I trapped? 2 feral cats. And you take them down to the SPCA to get spayed or neutered or whatever it's called for $40. The last one I had, the Tuxie cat, we took care of for 4 months. Me and my neighbor took care of. After, got to spay them and neuter them so they don't have no more babies. Spay, no more babies, no more ferals. And Matt, how did this? I'll give me 15 more seconds. Sorry. It died. It was poisoned in some way. It was passed out for. After we took care of it for 4 months, it just kind of was like shook and was passed out for a day, and then it died. We think it ate a mouse, and the mouse had eaten somebody's poison in somebody's house. We put these poison blocks down. That'll poison the mouse. The mouse goes out and then kills the fox or whatever eats the mouse. In this case, the feral cat. That's what we think happened. Sorry. So the reality to us at this point, guys, has given itself completely away. I just can't imagine anybody that's here that believes, like, they look at the world like it's real, like whatever presents itself can be figured out. And those coordinating everything have coordinated it with such perfection that they never truly make a mistake where the masses see through it. And then not only do they not make a mistake, the mistakes that are in the events, I mean, who could possibly pull this off? The mistakes are on purpose. I mean, what real world could do that? The inflated tire for us. Robbie Bibby. One of the parents who lost a. Didn't it just happen yesterday? What the fuck are you doing at a podium, sir? Where's your bags under the eyes, crying and shit? You look like you were out. But you had a beautiful night's sleep. You look so good, Robbie. That's a mistake on purpose. The inflated tire. I could literally probably do a video every day for the rest of my life on all the mistakes on purpose and the elements and the events that were meant to suck us in. Boy, did I take a beating. I guess at this point, guys, I'll just break down to nonsense if you don't want to stick with it. But the Philadelphia event, oh boy, I don't know what it was, 4 or 5 years ago. West Philadelphia, North Philadelphia, really did. That is not an easy neighborhood. And then of course, I made a video and said this one looks pretty real, pretty legitimate. And by the way, that's shootings and stuff happen in those neighborhoods. I mean, it's not, you go to those neighborhoods, you're not going to feel very comfortable. I mean, it's Matt, would you go? No, I wouldn't go. I wouldn't go down. I think it was North Philadelphia, and but then of course I didn't look at it that closely. I said this one feels real. Of course, the truth community, we got you, Matt, you dummy. And they sent me a clip of it looked like police officers are getting into a blue sedan where they're pouring some sort of fake ketchup, say. And then I was like, oh, you've got to be kidding. So I got it wrong. See, okay, let me get this straight. This evil genius, Notnilk, it just made a mistake, and the cameras from the news media, and the news media is independent. The news media doesn't work for Notnilk either. So the news media recorded looked like feds or whatever pouring ketchup and partly to fake it, and then they jumped in the car. I was like, well, so you think you caught him? You think they made a mistake? Really? Oh, boy. Why did they have to pour it outside the car? Why wouldn't they do it in the car? They're not smart enough to see there's 4 or 5 news choppers? If the news choppers, they work for Notnilk, right? Or they're independent? What would you say? They're independent. Matt, who are you looking at over here? I don't know. Just trying to change it up a bit. So the news media, if they did see the pouring of the ketchup, they don't work for Notnilk. They would have to keep that in and show you the truth. So what you saw was something you weren't supposed to see. Really? As if you saw it, you were meant to see it. You see how that works now? Yeah. Don't underestimate what you're dealing with here. Don't make those mistakes. If it makes a mistake like that, it's, you can say it. They know. It's on purpose. Of course it is. So no real world could do this shit. Okay, I guess we're being a little repetitive at this point. The people that believe the world's completely real and it's just a secret society, it doesn't matter what I've said here. It doesn't matter the evidence, the endless evidence that I've presented that this could not be pulled off and it doesn't matter. The world is real to them. There's a people that's controlling everything, coordinating everything. I don't get it. I don't. To me, it's so crystal clear. Oh, I'm sorry, sweetie. It's so crystal clear. It's not even worth talking about at this point. What do you want? What do you want? Anyway, all right, guys. I guess it's long enough, huh? I'll look to your comments. Who do you think's in control here? I'm going to clean up comments. Anything like nonsense or whatever, I'm just going to eliminate the comment because this video is just as much about the comments. Thanks.